Listen carefully. The person who achieves your dreams won't be you, not the you sitting here right now. The grind changes people in ways no one talks about, and not all of it is growth. That spark of joy from simple things, dimmed. That ability to relax without guilt, gone. Those moral lines you swore you'd never cross, blurred. Success doesn't just require sacrifice, it demands transformation. And sometimes, what emerges isn't better, just harder. Before you continue down this path, ask yourself, am I willing to lose who I am, to become what I want? People show you the highlight reel, but never the deleted scenes. Every success story gets polished until it shines, with the messy parts left on the cutting room floor. What you see is the trophy ceremony, not the 3 a.m. panic attacks or the relationships that didn't survive the climb. Society loves winners, but it never asks to see the receipts. Here's the thing, real achievement doesn't come with just a price tag. It takes pieces of you. Michael Jordan called it the Republic of Me phase, where his obsession with winning cost him normal friendships and simple pleasures. Elon Musk has admitted to sleeping on his factory floor during crunch times, pushing through 120-hour work weeks that would break most people. These aren't sacrifices, they're transformations. A study from the Journal of Personality and Social Psychology found 72% of high achievers report feeling empty after major accomplishments. That's nearly 3 out of 4 people who reach the top and discover the view isn't what they imagined. The bill always comes due, and it's rarely paid in cash. External success often means internal debt, the kind that compounds in sleepless nights, strained relationships, and a creeping sense of, was this worth it? Look at any extreme winner long enough, and you'll see the cracks. The entrepreneur who can't sit through a family dinner without checking emails. The athlete who wins gold but can't remember their last genuine laugh. The artist who creates masterpieces but lost the ability to enjoy them. These aren't exceptions. They're the rule. The higher you climb, the more the air thins. Your body keeps score, even when you're winning. Chronic stress doesn't care about your bank account or your follower count. It chips away at you in silent installments. A little less patience here, a little more cynicism there. By the time you notice, the person holding the trophy might not be someone you recognize, which leads us to what gets repossessed first. Your inner circle becomes a casualty list. Every hour invested in the grind is an hour stolen from someone who cares about you. That missed birthday, the cancelled dinner plans, the half-listened to phone calls, they add up. A Stanford study tracked high performers for a decade and found 83% had at least one failed marriage. The numbers don't lie. Success burns through relationships faster than most people realize. Kobe Bryant was brutally honest about this. He admitted being a terrible friend during his prime years. While he was obsessing over championships, his personal connections withered. I couldn't focus on both, he said, so I chose basketball. That's the trade-off no one talks about. You don't just miss moments, you miss entire relationships. The people who loved the old version of you slowly realize they're dealing with a stranger. Neuroscience explains why this happens. Chronic stress shrinks the parts of your brain responsible for emotional intelligence. The same drive that makes you relentless at work makes you worse at reading faces, hearing tone, picking up on subtle cues. You become emotionally tone-deaf without realizing it. Partners describe feeling like they're talking to a ghost, someone physically present but mentally already 3 steps ahead to the next goal. The higher you climb, the lonelier it gets. Friends stop inviting you out because you always cancel. Family learns not to expect you at holidays. Romantic partners realize they're competing with your ambition and losing. This isn't hypothetical. Look at any industry's top performers and you'll find the same pattern. Divorces, estranged children, friendships that evaporated. Here's the thing. Success demands relationship sacrifices. Most aren't prepared to make. You tell yourself it's temporary, just until the next milestone. But milestones become moving targets. By the time you look up, the people who mattered are gone. And while you're losing people, you're also losing something more fundamental: the ability to connect at all. The skills atrophy from disuse. You forget how to be present, how to listen, how to care about anything, but the next win. The irony. Many hit their goals only to realize they have no one left to celebrate with. The very people who would have been proudest of you moved on years ago. Success doesn't just cost time, it costs the relationships that make time meaningful. And while you're losing people, you're also losing something more fundamental. Your body keeps score even when you're winning. Chronic stress doesn't care about your bank account or your title. A Mayo Clinic study followed high achievers for 15 years and found those with prolonged intense ambition had 40% higher rates of heart disease. The numbers don't lie. Your physiology pays the price for every all-nighter, every skipped meal, every "I'll sleep when I'm dead" mentality. Steve Jobs' biographer revealed his extreme work habits may have accelerated his cancer. Jobs would go days without proper meals, push through exhaustion, and ignore early symptoms. His doctor warned him the stress was compromising his immune system. This wasn't unique to Jobs. Research shows cortisol levels in CEOs match those of combat soldiers. Your body can't tell the difference between chasing a deadline and running from a predator. The stress response stays activated, wearing down organs, weakening defenses, aging cells faster. Here's what no one tells you. Success requires a kind of physical sacrifice that compounds over time. A Harvard study found executives average 4 to 5 hours of sleep during peak career years. Chronic sleep deprivation doesn't just make you tired, it increases Alzheimer's risk by 33%, diabetes risk by 40%. The brain literally can't clear toxins without proper sleep. Yet high achievers wear sleep deprivation like a badge of honor, not realizing they're trading long-term health for short-term gains. The body always collects its due. Look at Wall Street traders with stress-induced ulcers at 30, tech founders needing beta blockers to manage heart rates by 40, professional athletes with the joints of 70-year-olds by retirement age. These aren't exceptions, they're the rule. Physical health becomes the currency of unsustainable success, paid in silent installments, until one day the account is empty. Even exercise becomes part of the problem when taken to extremes. Marathon runners show increased arterial plaque. Bodybuilders on performance enhancers die decades early. The same drive that pushes people to the top often pushes their bodies past reasonable limits. There's a reason the phrase "burning out" comes from machinery. Eventually, parts wear down. The most dangerous part? You often don't notice the damage until it's too late. Stress hormones mask symptoms. Adrenaline covers fatigue. By the time you feel it, the harm is already done. And while you might justify it as temporary, just until the next milestone, the body doesn't reset when you do. Those all-nighters in your 20s show up as memory issues in your 50s. The skipped meals led to metabolic damage that's hard to reverse. Physical health is the currency of unsustainable success. But the most dangerous loss isn't physical. Success. It steals who you were to create what you become. Your old self gets left behind like yesterday's clothes, too small for who you need to be. Yale researchers found 68% of high achievers report looking back at photos from just a few years prior and not recognizing the person they see. The change isn't just gradual, it's a complete overhaul. Arnold Schwarzenegger said it bluntly. To become a champion bodybuilder, then a movie star, then governor, he had to cut away parts of himself. "I lost my Austrian soul somewhere along the way," he admitted. The cheerful small-town boy who loved simple pleasures became someone else entirely. This isn't unique to him. Psychological studies show extreme success requires identity fragmentation, literally splitting yourself into versions that can handle different challenges. The problem, those pieces don't always fit back together. Here's how it happens. First, you adopt new habits, then new thought patterns, then an entirely new worldview. The shy college student becomes a bold entrepreneur by forcing herself to speak up. The The sensitive artist grows thick skin to handle criticism. Each adaptation helps you survive the climb, but they also erase who you started as. Eventually, you look in the mirror and see a stranger. Research in the Journal of Personality and Social Psychology found that high achievers show lower consistency in personality tests over time compared to average performers. They develop chameleon traits, adapting so completely to their environment that their core self gets buried. The person who cried at sad movies becomes stone-faced. The one who valued honesty learns to spin narratives. It's not always conscious, more like death by 1,000 small compromises. Some changes seem positive at first. You become more disciplined, more resilient, better at handling pressure. But these aren't additions, they're replacements. The easygoing friend gets replaced by someone who can't relax. The passionate hobbyist becomes too focused on monetizing every skill. Success doesn't just add layers, it strips away what doesn't serve the goal. The worst part? You often don't notice until it's too late. Like boiling a frog, the changes happen slowly enough that each step feels manageable. Only when someone from your past says, "You've changed," do you realize it wasn't entirely by choice. By then, reclaiming your old self would mean giving up everything you've built. This explains why so many successful people report feeling like imposters. They aren't faking their achievements. They're just not the same person who earned them. The version of you that wanted this success no longer exists. What remains is someone shaped by the struggle, hardened by the journey. Achievement requires personal reinvention that can feel like self-betrayal. And with your identity goes your moral compass. Every, at all costs, has its cost. Moral lines don't disappear in one dramatic moment. They get redrawn with each small compromise. A Harvard study tracking professionals across industries found that ethical fading increases by 27% with each promotion level. The higher people climb, the more they justify behaviors they once would have condemned. Lance Armstrong, renowned cyclist, didn't start his career planning to dope. He began with small justifications. Everyone else was doing it, it was just leveling the playing field. By the time he won 7 Tour de France titles, his moral compass had completely recalibrated. "I didn't view it as cheating," he later admitted. "I viewed it as a necessity." That's how ethical fading works. What once seemed unacceptable becomes normal through gradual exposure. Neuroscience explains why this happens. MRI scans show power literally changes brain function, reducing activity in the areas responsible for empathy. The same traits that help leaders make tough decisions also make them worse at recognizing harm. A UC Berkeley study had participants play rigged Monopoly games. The winners consistently became more aggressive, less attuned to others' suffering even when they knew the game was unfair. Here's how it plays out in real life. The entrepreneur who once vowed never to fire people starts seeing employees as expenses. The doctor who dreamed of helping patients gets pressured to maximize billable hours. The artist who valued authenticity starts chasing algorithms instead of meaning. No one sets out to betray their principles. It happens in tiny increments that each seem reasonable in the moment. The most dangerous part? You often don't notice the shift yourself. Research from the University of Washington shows people consistently believe they're more ethical than they actually are when tested in controlled scenarios. We judge our intentions while others judge our actions. That lawyer who swore they'd never defend guilty clients? They start with one shady case because the money's good. The accountant who valued honesty. They learn to creatively interpret tax laws for wealthy clients. This isn't just about big scandals, it's about daily small choices. The professor who inflates grades to keep student evaluations high, the manager who overlooks harassment from top performers, the journalist who softens a story to maintain access. Every just this once adds up until your moral boundaries have moved without your conscious permission. The road to the top is paved with abandoned principles, not because successful people are inherently worse, but because the system rewards those who play by its rules, whatever those rules become. You tell yourself you'll stop when you reach your goals, but goals keep evolving. By then, the person making those calls isn't who you started as. Which raises the ultimate question. The higher you climb, the more the air becomes thinner. That rush you get from achievement, it works like any other drug. The more you get, the more you need just to feel normal. Brain scans show chasing success lights up the same circuits as cocaine use. The finish line always moves further away because your brain adapts to each new level. Princeton researchers found happiness plateaus at about $75,000 annual income, yet high achievers keep chasing more long after that number is crossed. Robin Williams had everything the world calls success: fame, wealth, critical acclaim. But behind closed doors, he battled severe depression. "I think the saddest people always try their hardest to make people happy," he once said, "because they know what it's like to feel worthless." His story isn't unique. Studies on dopamine function show chronic high achievers often develop a tolerance to their own success. What first felt like a triumph eventually just feels like maintenance. Here's how it happens neurologically. Every achievement gives a dopamine hit, but over time your brain produces less of the neurotransmitter naturally. You need bigger wins to feel the same satisfaction. A Goldman Sachs analyst making $400,000 reports the same life satisfaction as when they made $80,000. They're just working 4 times as hard to feel it. The hedonic treadmill doesn't slow down just because you're successful, it speeds up. Therapy offices are filled with people who checked every box but still feel empty. The lawyer who made partner but can't remember why she wanted it. The entrepreneur who sold his company and now wanders his mansion aimlessly. External validation can't fill internal voids. It just drowns them out temporarily. A UCLA study followed Oscar winners and found their happiness levels returned to baseline within 6 months. The trophy doesn't change how you feel about yourself long term. This explains why so many successful people describe feeling like frauds. Imposter syndrome isn't about lacking skills. It's about achieving goals and realizing they don't transform you. That internal voice saying, "When I get this, I'll be happy," lies. The promotion doesn't make you feel worthy. The followers don't make you feel loved. The money doesn't make you feel secure. It just gives you more to lose. Look at any field's top performers and you'll see this pattern. Elite athletes getting depressed after retirement, CEOs stepping down unexpectedly, entertainers cycling through rehab programs. They all discover the same truth. No amount of external validation fixes internal brokenness. It just papers over the cracks until the weight becomes too much. The cruel irony? The traits that drive success often come from deep insecurity, the need to prove yourself, the fear of being ordinary. But proving yourself to others won't heal that wound. Chasing achievement to feel worthwhile is like trying to fill a bucket with a hole in the bottom. You pour in more degrees, more accolades, more zeros in your bank account, but the emptiness remains. So is there a way to win without losing everything? There's a way to keep what matters while still achieving. The healthiest high performers all share one strategy. They compartmentalize. An MIT study tracking executives over a decade found those who maintained strict boundaries between work and personal life were 32% more likely to sustain success without burnout. They weren't working less, they were working differently. Warren Buffett calls this the inner scorecard approach. While others chase external validation, he measures himself by his own standards. His calendar has blank spaces. He says no to most opportunities. He reads 6 hours a day in Omaha, while Wall Street buzzes without him. This isn't laziness, it's strategic focus. The research backs this up. People who maintain hobbies, relationships, and downtime perform better long-term than those who obsess 24/7. Here's how compartmentalizing works in practice. When you're with family, you're fully present. No checking emails under the table. When exercising, you focus on your body, not your inbox. Work gets undivided attention during designated hours, then gets put away completely. A Stanford study found people who practice strict work-life separation were 28% more productive during work hours than chronic multitaskers. The key is ruthless prioritization, not just of tasks, but of identities. The best leaders don't let their professional persona consume their entire being. They're CEOs from 9 to 5, parents from 6 to 8, and themselves after hours. Neuroscience shows this switching helps prevent the identity erosion we discussed earlier. Each role gets its designated space instead of everything blurring together. Research in the Journal of Applied Psychology reveals that compartmentalizers experience less stress because their brains get regular recovery periods. Instead of constantly running at 100%, they alternate between intense focus and complete disengagement. This mimics elite athletes' training cycles: sprint, then rest, repeat. The body and mind need recovery to sustain high performance. Cal Newport's research on deep work confirms this. People who batch intense cognitive work into focused bursts outperform those grinding through endless hours. They work with extreme concentration for 3 to 4 hours, then switch off completely. Their brains get the downtime needed to consolidate learning and recharge creativity. The result? Better outcomes in less time, with lower personal cost. Examples exist across fields. Stephen King writes, "Mornings only, then spends afternoons with family." Olympic swimmers sleep 10 hours a night despite training 6 hours a day. Top 7 surgeons protect weekends religiously. These aren't sacrifices, they're strategies. The data shows sustainable high performers aren't those who push hardest, but those who recharge best. The lesson is clear. Success without self-betrayal requires drawing hard lines. Your career gets part of you, not all of you. Your values get protected alongside your goals. Your health gets prioritized, not postponed. This takes discipline most lack, saying no to good opportunities to protect great ones, turning off notifications completely after hours, scheduling downtime as seriously as meetings. Which brings us to the final reckoning. Before you sign the contract, read the fine print. Every dream has hidden clauses nobody mentions up front. Howard Hughes had it all: billions, fame, power, but died alone in a darkened room, terrified of germs, consumed by paranoia. His story isn't unique. A Johns Hopkins study found 42% of extremely successful people experience post-achievement depression within 2 years of reaching their goals. That's nearly half who finally get what they wanted and feel nothing. The costs compound in ways you can't predict. Early success often means accelerated aging, Wall Street traders in their 30s with the stress hormones of combat veterans. Missed family moments can't be reclaimed. The weddings, birthdays, and graduations you skipped for work. A New England Journal of Medicine study followed high achievers for 30 years and found those who prioritized career over relationships had significantly higher rates of late-life regret. The trade-offs aren't temporary, they're permanent. Here's how it sneaks up on you. First, you sacrifice weekends, then friendships, then health. Each compromise feels small in the moment, but the interest stacks up. You don't just lose time, you lose the ability to enjoy time. Chronic stress changes your brain's reward system. Activities that used to bring joy, reading a book, taking a walk, stop registering. A Harvard neuroscience study found long-term high achievers show decreased response to everyday pleasures compared to average performers. The stats paint a clear picture. 68% of self-made millionaires report feeling less happy after crossing the $1 million mark. 73% of senior executives admit they'd trade salary for more family time if they could restart their careers. The costs always exceed expectations because we measure the visible sacrifices, time, effort, but not the invisible ones: personality changes, eroded values, lost connections. Howard Hughes isn't the exception. He's the logical endpoint. The same drive that built his empire also destroyed his humanity. He couldn't turn it off. Neither can most extreme achievers. A University of Cambridge study of retired CEOs found 58% struggled with identity loss, after leaving their roles. They'd become their jobs completely. Without the chase, they didn't know who they were. This isn't about discouraging ambition, it's about clear-eyed accounting. True success requires accepting its full price up front, not just the late nights and hard work, but the friends who'll drift away, the hobbies you'll abandon, the person you'll have to become. The costs aren't flaws in the system, they're features. Which leaves one final question. Here's the truth. The person who reaches the top isn't the same one who started climbing. You will change. The question is whether you'll recognize yourself when you get there. We've seen what success costs: relationships, health, pieces of your identity. Before you commit to being the best, understand what best really means. No trophy fixes regret. No title replaces lost time. No amount of money buys back who you were. So ask yourself one last time, is this version of success worth that version of you? Because in the end, the most important thing you can achieve is still being someone you respect. If this hit you harder than you expected, you're not alone. This channel exposes the unspoken costs of ambition, power, and human nature. So if you're ready to keep exploring the truth beneath the surface, hit like, subscribe, and turn on notifications. New videos every week to challenge your mind and maybe your soul. Thanks for watching. Stay sharp, stay aware, and I'll see you in the next one.